What's up, everybody? My name is Adam Palmer. This is Daily Nonsense. On today's show, we are going to be commenting on the president of Upper Deck's statement that he put out on LinkedIn earlier this week. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button. If you're a new viewer, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss any future Daily Nonsense content. Let's get into it. Watch the breaks, Ivan. He put out a tweet the other day from a LinkedIn post from the president of Upper Deck. And there were some points that I kind of agree with, some points that I disagree with, and I wanted to go through it here. So if you're watching this, I'm going to kind of go through each of the points. His name is Jason Masheria. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. President of Upper Deck. First of all, when I saw this, I was like, well, how long have they been working at Upper Deck? They've been working at Upper Deck for like 20 years. So that's fine. Because sometimes I see these things of people in the sports card industry who put out these long statements or these statements about the industry, and then you look and their account was created in like 2022, which is fine. I'm not even going to try and sit here and say that the length of how long you've been in the industry gives you more or less credibility when it comes to your opinion on the industry. Because, for me, I've been doing sports cards since like 2018. But I still think that I am learning every single day. So for me, it's like, there is sometimes where there is this almost pretentious nature to like statements like this, not exactly this one necessarily, but like people who make these broad statements on Twitter or Instagram or whatever about the industry. It's like, yeah, buddy, everyone has been making these statements for like a decade, like, or 2 decades. Like, these are not new things. Like, this is what I talked about this a while ago, like maybe last week or 2 weeks ago. There was like a comment from somebody on Instagram and they were doing some research. I think it was WNBAsports.com on Instagram. I couldn't find the comment, but I remember the name, and I think that's the name. They were saying that they went back 15 years and people were still complaining about all the same things that we were complaining about. So, but basically, they talk about everything is speculative right now, which that, seems pretty obvious. 50% of consumers, 50% of consumer spending comes from 10% of the population. And I know that content and CEOs or I know presidents and CEOs like to make content. I think content is great. You should be making it. You should be writing down your thoughts and opinions. I just don't know necessarily how in tune the presidents and CEOs of companies are to what's actually going on in the world, just in general. But again, that's maybe more of a larger topic for another day. Also, the point that I want to make here, as I've been kind of talking about this, Jason's been posting on LinkedIn all the time, like a couple times a week. So when I was looking through them, and a lot of them were, kind of similar. Some of them more specific about card stuff. But this one, for whatever reason, it struck a chord with some people and has gone kind of viral. And it's, the reason why I'm talking about it on the show. So then he goes into, concert tickets for $1,000 for nosebleeds. I'm not exactly sure which concerts he's referencing. I mean, yeah, Taylor Swift, those concert tickets are expensive, but like, what other concerts are you spending $1,000 on tickets? I don't really think so necessarily. And then he goes into when boxes are more than $1,000, you're betting that what you buy today will be significantly worth more tomorrow. And yeah, I think that's what the industry has been. And I think that's sort of what the industry has been and will probably continue to be, especially with the rise in gambling. And I think that's one thing that people in the sports card industry don't want to accept because it's changing the landscape of their industry. Gambling, the toothpaste is out of the tube at this point. There is no going back when it comes to gambling. People will find a way, whether there's regulation that come in, whether it's sports gambling or whether it's breaking, people will figure out a way to gamble, whether it's on sports cards or it's on sports, they'll figure it out. Gambling is one of the, it's an addiction that people have in the world that, like, again, I am very surprised. Well, not surprised how quickly sports gambling carried on. I'm surprised how easily companies are willing to just take the bag, just take the money and have no care about whether, people are becoming addicted or anything like that. And maybe it's a similar conversation with sports cards, I suppose. Like, the addiction to sports cards it's similar to sports gambling because there is an aspect of it where you go, oh, I know what this thing is. Maybe there's a way to make money here, but then the companies are the ones laughing. They're all laughing all the way to the bank. And there's a saying that, like, whenever I'm gambling or whenever I go to casino or sports gambling, there's a thing that I always say to people. the house always wins. So whether that is, these sports card companies that are winning from getting breakers to open their products, or it's breakers that are winning because they're getting people to pay for break spots, the house always wins. That's sort of my philosophy when it comes to gambling. Like, I think that if people are going to a movie or they're going out to dinner and they spend whatever, $20, $30 at the movies, a couple $100 at dinner, however much you're spending, or like 100 or less than 100, whatever. People don't leave that and go, wow, I can't believe that I spent that much. Like, how am I going to get that money back? It's like, no, they know that that's entertainment. Going into it, they know that they are spending the money that they're never going to get back. And I think that more people need to realize that's sort of what you should be expecting with sports cards, and almost have a different type of expectation. Because yeah, if you're buying $1,000 box of sports cards, you are hoping that you're going to get a card that is worth at least like half of the money, or a couple cards that's worth half at this point. But like, realistically, you're looking at like 10 to 15%, even if you're entering breaks, which I think breaks are fine. But I think that you have to just go into these breaks and all of these things realizing that like, you're more than 50% going to lose all of the money that you put in. And at least with cards, if you're entering a break, or even if you buy a box, you are getting cards. So like, whether you make the money back, whether you are speculating to make the money back, you are making money from cards. And then, the last point that he made was like, he's trying to point out that the sky isn't falling, like nothing is going bad in the industry. But if people move their money out of sports cards, then he said, and if all that money suddenly goes elsewhere to bet on something else, we will all feel it. And look, yeah, obviously, like that's that feels like if you're in an industry that is reliant on consumers buying something, then yeah, if people stop wanting to buy that thing, or if they stop having the expendable income, then yeah, then that's the money is not going to be there anymore. That feels pretty obvious. Again, I think that there are people who are taking this a little bit too seriously online, like really being a little bit rude about this. I disagree with some of the things that he said. I think that some of the stuff is just like obvious stuff, like the money stuff. But I think the last point I want to make here is that like, in this industry, we want our cards, because this was one of the sentiments I saw of people commenting on this specifically, was people saying that no one can afford the hobby anymore. It's too expensive for everybody. Kids can't afford it. And I want to say, like, I just don't. I agree. I guess it's gotten more expensive, but I don't agree that people can't afford it, because I think that like, if you were buying cards in 2018, 2019, 2020, there's probably a decent shot that a lot of those cards are more expensive than they were. So it's like, if you want to buy these things, you'll just have to sell the cards. And in this industry, we want our cards to be worth a lot of money. But at the same time, and this maybe is a straw man, potentially. We get angry at the companies for also wanting more money, but we want our cards to be worth money. We don't want to have to pay a lot for them. Like, so there's almost this weird dynamic where people want cheap cards, but they don't, but then they want cheap boxes, but then they want their cards to then be expensive. So that way they can either buy more boxes, buy more cards, whatever. So it's a weird dynamic. And, maybe that's the final point of this, just in general, because I want to talk about this. And then I was just kind of thinking about the industry in general, and seeing what people were saying. And it's like, again, we want our cards to be worth money. It's the same with PSA. We want all of our cards to be PSA 10s, but it's like, then when you get upcharged, or other cards get PSA 10s and the pop report goes up, people complain about the pop report. And maybe this is two different people that I'm talking about here, potentially. But I think that just from looking at social media, these are some of the things that I'm seeing from the statement, and sort of just what I'm seeing on social media, just like in general, I suppose. That's all we've got for today's show. Make sure you leave a comment. Let us know what you thought about today's episode. Also, come back here to the Sports Card Nonsense YouTube channel every single day for more daily nonsense. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.